Hello, good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Simona, Sean, Zach, Elizabeth, Carol, everyone. And those of you that are joining me in the future. Essentially, you'll be watching this recording. So I appreciate you hanging out with me. This is day 2, Daily Creative Challenge. Good to have you here. Yes, broadcasting from San Francisco. Jose is also in San Francisco. So good to see you. Always nice to hear where you're from. Always love hearing from Steve, who's in New Zealand. Want to come visit you sometime. So, and Sam, fantastic. It's probably in the building somewhere. So, day 2, we're going to dive into this Daily Creative Challenge. Super fun. Just so you know, yesterday we went over photo editing, sort of like the fundamentals. Emphasis on the word fun because I think it's just awesome and probably one of the top reasons people use Photoshop. So we'll review those in a second. Day 2 is all about selecting and masking. By the way, behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, or right beneath this video, you'll find the link. So that's what we're going to do today. This is essential, by the way. I'm excited to get into today, and I'm excited that you are here as well. So where you post these to is to Behance. We had a good time yesterday. Started with kind of like a photo like this, with one of me, and people have had a lot of fun messing with it. So Lee, thanks for making me look like an alien. Really appreciate that. I feel the love. But what's awesome about this is Lee learned how to use Liquify. It recognizes all the features and it makes it really easy to distort a face. So have fun with that. Mess with people, mess with me. That's why I gave you the photo. And everybody did a great job. Special shout out to Ken Cowley, did a great job. I like it when people post their before and then also their after. So you could see that he actually changed the color of his shirt, which just kind of blew me away. And he was really smart about it. He's like, you know what? This shirt needs to be more than gray since I added this exciting background. So great job there, Ken. Mad props to you. Again, before and after. I will say when it comes to colorizing, do things with a purpose. Maybe you're making it look more contemporary. Here it looks like, I mean, it's definitely very cool. It's the opposite of warm skin tones. So just kind of, just be consciously aware of why you're picking the colors you are. I did want to do this really fast. Some people are having a hard time adjusting using curves under the eyes, and it's one issue that people had. So let's jump in here. Here's the photo, and again, curves. This is the problem people have. When you first add curves, it actually selects the mask. You need to select the actual layer and not the layer mask. And then you can pick the, double click, the target shadow color, and then the darkness of the eyes. So that's what you want to do. Just click right here. So I wanted to answer that question. I'll review more later on. I want to get into today's as well. Vivi did a great job with her before and after, kind of having some issues with some of this. The coloring there, we can happily work on that as we go along, especially as we get into coloring tomorrow. But great job, everyone. We'll get into these more a little bit later. I want to get started on today's challenge because it's all about selecting and masking, and that's what a lot of people are asking anyways. Vivi is like, how do I select this hair? How do I deal with that? And that's what we're going to get into today, if that's okay. Sam, thanks so much for posting that Discord link. We'll jump in here too. Photoshop. We'll go beyond this. And again, here's my final. Some different versions, integrating the background in with the face by throwing a splash of lighting in there. But this is the file you're dealing with, so feel free to download it. Looks perfectly innocent so far, right? Just some basic shapes that were actually created using these shape tools right over here, rectangle tool, and then just be mindful of what this is set to. So it's set to shape, and that's how I made these. But in here we have a couple other images. We've got a desert. We have this woman jumping. So we're gonna do something fun just so you can catch a vision for it. Something like this, right? It's all gonna come down to selecting. Good morning, Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. I'm sure that's your real name. It's good to see you. All right, so I would ask this of Dana and Ariana and Allison, like, what's the easiest way to select her? We might have different answers, and the answers changed over the years as well as we've introduced new technologies. Like, what is the easiest way to select her? Some of you might in the past maybe go for the magic wand tool. Clicking here, holding down the shift key, adding more, right? We could do that, sure. Some of you might consider using the quick select tool, right? To quickly select in here. What we also introduced about, 4 months ago, is the object selection tool, right? Since I just want to select her, I can draw a box around her, and then it will select her, at least about 80% of her. So Elizabeth says select subject. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going through sort of the popular options you'd typically have. We have this object selection tool, but to be honest with you, that's only if we wanted to select something that's part of the larger image, just this one thing, like her hand. That's what we'd use this object selection tool for, okay? So you can see right over here, we could try that, select subject. I should preface this by what I'd actually want to do is I want to remove her from the background and put her in the desert, which sounds like a horrible idea. Don't worry, she's gonna be totally safe. Select subject will do it, right? We could do that. We can then come over here to the layers panel and then add a mask, and that's gonna mask out. Guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna mask out what's selected. All right, so let me zoom out again. It's gonna mask out what is selected, right? So it's gonna get rid of that whole background, right? That's pretty good. Let's take it a step back. And with this layer selected, as long as it's a pixel layer, this is actually the fastest way to do this. Okay, so Leah, ready for this? Selecting, just having this layer selected, that's it. It's the only subject there. I just want to remove background. Gerard has it. This layer selected right over here in the properties panel, which is now first class citizen. Remove background. It does those two moves in one. So that's the easiest thing you can do. Hopefully you like that, Caesar. This is honestly, when I look at a photo, I can tell you exactly how I would select something. And I usually go from the easiest, and then I start to get into these refining tools. Because now that she is not only selected, but has her own layer mask, I can start painting with black to remove and white to add. All right? Yes, Ariana, I didn't know there was a remove background. It's brand new. And it's not the remove background tool, which deleted pixels, not to be confused with that one. But right over here, I'm gonna select this layer mask. We can go up here to select and mask. Notice how it also appears off to the side and other ways, but we'll just kind of dive into this. Mine looks red. Yours might look different. It might have an onion skinning, marching ants. I just have mine set to overlay. And now we can kind of dive into cleaning this up, right? Clean this up in other ways. The largest area that needs to be fixed is the hair. And this was what Lee was having a problem with in Discord, right? How to deal with flyaway hair, right? We're gonna use this little guy. Refine edge. There we go. Did I zoom in enough on that? Clicking right there. And we just do this. Just kind of, you put one hand behind your head and you're just like, oh yeah, this is easy. Oh yeah, no problem, right? It adds to the selection, does some feathering, right? Sometimes you'll maybe get more or less. Look at how big my brush is. Using my bracket keys, I can decrease or increase the size. It actually gets, I actually used it pretty wide. It actually gets other parts that I may or may not want, right? Well, I can always switch to, right over here, our brush tool, just below that, right down here. So if I just click and drag, it starts adding to that particular part of this photo. So that's typically what I'll do is I'll use these tools off to the side, grabbing some of that, making sure I have enough of the shirt. I have this issue right here with this hand, right? We want to remove, so holding down the Option key, we can remove. We could use this brush. Anytime you really want some refinement, you want to jump in and use the lasso tool. So it's, said this earlier, but it's like my last tool because it's the most exact. So lasso tool being the last tool I use because I have that sort of capability to select these individual pixels. Okay, you ready for this? That is a weird thing that just, whoop. Okay, so right now, as you notice, the lasso tool is set to add to the selection. Okay, I want to remove from it, I hold down the Option key, right? Hold down the Option key and I can remove from it, right? But I not only want to remove from it, I need these straight lines. So what do? I take my finger off the Option key and then I press it again, and then it gives me this straight line. So the Option key in most cases when you're using the lasso tool will give you that straight line, but you do have to press it once initially to remove from that selection. Hopefully that makes sense. Option key, click the Option key again, holding down the Option key like so. That's how I'd start to clean that up, okay? Pretty good. Fantastic. I can play with these tools all day long. These are global adjustments. I usually don't mess with these that much, but it kind of just depends. Sometimes you do need to shift the edge to kind of choke up the image if it has a halo over the whole thing. So use Shift Edge to kind of choke it up some more. If it's something that's soft, maybe in the background, just kind of has some blur to it, you can use Feather. But otherwise, I don't mess with these. What I do love is right over here, decontaminate colors. Okay, Sean's saying select subject was added today to select and mask. Is it? Wait, hold on. Nope. Oh, wait, there it is. Boop. Oh, that's fancy too. Look at that. Object selection tool if you want to use it. Yeah, awesome. That's super cool. I was working my way down and I never made it that far. I usually have my object already selected before I'm even in this stage, but this is cool. If you miss something, you can jump in and use that. That's a more general tool. And then we're at this point, once we're in select and mask, we're really tightening this up. So we already have our subject. We're tightening it up now. We're gonna decontaminate colors. Let's look at this. Remember, there's blue in the background. We'll select decontaminate colors and you can see it change, right? Takes out that blue, right? And should blend with the background better. This worked fantastic for my photo yesterday because it took out the green of the king. After that is done, keep in mind this one, new layer with layer mask, right? Again, multiple moves, one selection, click OK. There it is. And we can kind of compare these two. This is our before. Here's our before, and then here's our after using select subject. So, Ariana, glad you're enjoying this and you're learning a lot because that's what we're here to do. We're here to empower you and build out a portfolio for you. By the way, I didn't want to do a quick shout out to, right over here, Valder, did a great job. Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. He's making a Behance project. I encourage you to do this, including the before and after. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Have one project that you can make that has all of the days in there. And so you can graduate in 9 days. I can't think of a faster way to graduate in 9 days. That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on. Okay, so decontaminates the colors, removes any color from the background. That's what it does, okay? By the way, like sometimes you don't notice it until you get back here and you have it in your scene. You could always jump back in. I have Photoshop set up, and usually it asks this when you first go into select and mask, or when you first double click on this, it'll ask you, hey, do you want to set your select and mask? Do you want to launch into select and mask mode when you double click on a mask? And that's what's happening there. All right, Andrew, yeah, I'll be happy to do a webinar for your Photoshop and Lightroom group. Certainly. But right now we got to get everybody through the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. So here's we have her jumping through the air. We can kind of dive into this desert now. I like this desert, but I also love that background. So how can we remove this sky, right? I would ask this of Andrew, right? How would you remove this sky? A number of ways to do this. One thing you could do is maybe you don't need to select it at all. So just keep that in mind. You can always go to that particular layer. Since the sky is lighter, maybe I just want to remove all the light pixels. It's going to be this, technically, I guess, third segment, but in this, the lighten, we have the, technically second part right here. Keep the dark pixels. I could go in here and use darken, right? And that will remove all the lighter pixels. So think about using layer blend modes, and maybe you don't need to select it all. But in this case, I do want to select. In this case, I'm going to use quick selection tool. Boom. Make all the fun sound effects. Like that. Zoom back out. Looks pretty good. Okay, remember I selected the sky. I do this. Oh yeah, thank you, Shahid. We could use the blend if. Yeah, this is only the second day, so I didn't want to get too much into blend if. But great call. I selected the sky. A lot of people, once they select their element, they'll click the layer mask. And what it does is it keeps whatever's selected. I want the inverse of that. So what do? Let's undo that. Hold down the Option key and then click on layer mask, and it will remove that background, okay? So that will save you a step as opposed to inverting the layer mask. Right? It's looking pretty cool. I like it so far. It's looking good. Okay, let's turn her on. Boop, there she is. What else do we have in here? We have this rectangle. We'll put that on top. That's looking pretty cool. Into that, I got this cool ellipse back there. It's kind of like the sun. I think it looks pretty cool. A couple other things I could do. Again, I could go back to this layer. I can delete that layer mask. So this is basically original. I can grab this shadow by using the object selection tool. Zoop. Dragging a box over that. Thank you very much. It selected it. Guess what? I want a little less than that. Quick selection tool. Remove by holding down the Option key. I can kind of remove that parts of the sand that I did not want, and there's her shadow. So that works out pretty good. That was just my example of showing the object selection tool. For this, I would probably do a lot more. This is what I would do. We're getting into design stuff, by the way. B for brush. Right in here. Set the flow down to 1%. I'm just painting right down here. Shame on me for painting in black. I usually don't like using black for shadows, but just for the sake of time, holding down the Shift key, we're just giving her a nice soft shadow because we want to show how high she's jumping. Maybe she's not jumping that high. It would only be there. Just like that, we can move that down. Can you give her a tan? Let's go into giving her a tan, tinting her different colors, stuff like that, okay? I did selections. I did layer masks, right? And now let's get into clipping masks, okay? Because let's say, for instance, I want to tint her a color or something, make her more vibrant. It's going to mean introducing adjustment layers. So right over here, right down here, I should really move this panel out. Here's all my fun adjustment layers. I can add vibrance. Vibrance is better. I shouldn't say it's better. No one thing's better than another thing. Everything has just different uses. Comic Sans isn't even bad. It just has a specific use case, right? So nothing is bad in here. Vibrance won't destroy skin tones, but let's go into, say, hue and saturation, right? There it is. We have hue and saturation selected. Crank it up and down. It's changing everything, right? It's making everything vibrant. I only want it to affect her, just that one layer beneath. Well, we just right click and there we have create clipping mask. Okay. So that's what I would do. Honestly, all I do is I just hold down the Option key. If you hold down the Option key and roll over between those two layers, it'll give you that clipping mask symbol. And then what do we do? Let's zoom out so you can see it. Boop. It just clips to that specific layer. I'll turn this on and off. You can see what happens, right? And now I can kind of adjust accordingly, okay? Super easy to do, right? I can take out the color altogether. So it just kind of depends on what I want to do in this case. The great thing is this is adjustment layer. It's non-destructive. Change it like that. I have my cool shadow underneath. I encourage you for the challenge today is like really get into this. Like we have this woman selected. You know, maybe I want her, maybe this is an advertisement for a clothing brand. I want her skin to be black and white, but the shorts and shirt to stand out. How would you do that? That's a question I'm asking you that I'm not gonna answer. Because like, go ahead, select those shorts, change the color of the shorts, the shirt, different things like that. I do wanna point out one other thing. I have about 3 minutes, but check this out. This is huge, by the way. Good to have you, D, as well. Let's go back to this. Let's just say, for instance, let's say, for instance, I want to add, what do I want to add? I want to add another layer mask of a different shape. So basically what I want to do is I want to have just, let me duplicate this. Hold on. Let me get this set up. Deselect, duplicate. This is what I want to do. I just want this land to appear. I just want this bottom part to appear. Just this part right here. Sometimes you need 2 masks. How would you do that? You can do it a couple different ways. This is what I would do, is I would create a folder or a group as it's known right over here, and I would just call this background and probably misspell it too, why not? And then I would put this inside of that layer group or folder. And what's cool about this is whatever mask I add in here will be applied to anything inside. So right in here, I can add a layer mask. I can just throw a gradient, for instance, like so. Let's turn that off. And you can see what I've done there is I've added this layer mask to that group, right? Hopefully you can see that. Added it to that group. It gives me total control. I have this mask that's independent of this mask here, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you. Hugely powerful. You can add clipping masks to this as well. Fantastic. What is this Corel Painter? Why are you guys bringing up Corel Painter of all things? What are you even talking about, you crazies? It's crazy stuff, right? Kind of here is where I'm at with roughly what I have going on so far is just this woman jumping. I could do probably about 1,000 things with this, and you get the idea. Oh yeah, by the way, since I have 1 minute, you ready for this? Since I have some pros in here, get involved. Are you ready for this action? Let's duplicate this layer. Command J. Let's apply that layer mask, right? Let's move that down. Let's have some fun. Let's go ahead and go convert to smart object, filter, blur, gallery, path blur. Why not? Have some fun with this. Once you have it masked out, you can have so much fun. Let's draw a line here, right? We're giving her motion, going from there to there. Maybe her leg, right? Going from this point on up with the curve, right? Drawing a line down here, bending it. I would do rear sync flash. There we go. Look at that. We just gave her some motion. Let's whip her hair back. whipping her hair back roughly. Click OK. Wait for it. It's applying it to this. All right, awesome. Viola. Gives our cray. Down to the last minute, I think. The timer just kind of went away. But I encourage you to add some effects to that once that's done. Layer mask, brush, eliminate, and now we have something even more fun. So have fun, post to Discord. Would love to see your work. Thank you so much for everybody participating yesterday. We have Swopes in the house up in 5 minutes. So stick around. It's going to be fun. More Photoshop on an iPad, actually. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you tomorrow.